Hi, my name's Dan Nofke, and I'm here to talk to you about wireless networking security and the benefits of it. There are certain things you have to take into account when dealing with a wireless network, and I'm about to talk to you with them now. My certifications include A+, Security Plus, and the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner. Let's get started. And so there are many types of wireless networks and how data travels across them. The standard for it is IEEE 802.11 and then a letter series followed behind that, and that's just the family of protocols that you use for classifying different types of data throughput for a network. It started out with 802.11a, which was at 54 megabits per second. It was confined to a very small range. This was the first commonly used standard. And then it went to 802.11b, which only had 11 megabits per second. But it traveled much further. And then they came out with 802.11g, which was the standard for a very long time. And that's at 54 megabits per second, and that started operating on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. It was able to span wide indoor and outdoor ranges. After that, they came out with 802.11n, which came out a couple years ago. That ended up with about 150 megabits per second, which is the fastest at the time. At the beginning of this year, they came out with 802.11ac, which can get up to 866 megabits per second, and in theory, in some occasions, can get over a gig, which is pretty impressive. We're going to talk a little bit about WEP, WAP, WP, and WPA2. WEP is very old technology that has been around for quite a long time, and back in the day, about the mid-90s, it was pretty big. No one could really break it. Now it can be broken pretty easily within a couple of minutes. So you kind of want to stay away from that. WAP kind of came after that, and now it's a little bit more secure, but it can still be broken with a little bit of time, probably a couple of weeks. The new standard is WPA or WPA2. WPA2 is almost unbreakable. It takes many months of dedicated hacking and troubleshooting in order to break this network. So in terms, this is the most secure. So you're pretty good with that. Talk a little bit about wireless access points. So in order to connect wireless devices together, you need a wireless portal, which is usually on your wireless router or access point. It's pretty much a transmitter and receiver, and it needs to be properly placed for maximum performance. And all of the wireless networking takes place on a radio frequency, or an RF band. Okay, so there's a lot to take into consideration when configuring a wireless network. You'd want to take into account the antenna configuration. Now, this goes from actual placement of the antenna to the power that you give to the antenna. So if you want a building to have wireless network, you need to put it right in the middle. If you put it in the side, then one side of the building doesn't get that wireless network, and the outside would gain access to your networks because they could connect through the RF band. Antenna strength is also important because if you have a very small area that you want to give a wireless network to, but the power has it much larger, then it would take up more space, and other people outside of who you would want to give access to would be able to gain access to your network. MAC filtering is very important. A MAC is what is on your machine that you connect to the network. It's called it's giving it a hexadecimal number that's identified to a specific machine, and every machine has its own hexadecimal number to it, so no two machines can be alike. And then that gets into MAC spoofing, where you could actually make your MAC address something different to an unauthorized user could gain access through that. But that's a little bit more into actually configuring the router. Okay, there are many vulnerabilities when connecting to a network. Wireless systems are vulnerable to different attacks, and wired networks are susceptible to attacks. Wireless networks can kind of be done remotely, but they're a little harder to crack. A wired network doesn't have too much security besides what you would call port security. So on that port, you would identify a machine for it, but that can also be spoofed. So physical security is more important with a wired network, and logical security is more important with a wireless network. Due to users needing to have constant connectivity to wireless devices, radio frequencies are often easily intercepted. It doesn't take too much time for you to find a RF signal. So make sure with that signal you secure it, because if it's not secured, anyone can gain access. When you're looking into a network, you need to make sure you do a site survey. So taking an area and finding out what could be vulnerabilities. You wouldn't want to put it near a common area like a parking lot, or if you don't want to access a break area, because someone there could have a large amount of time to break into your network. With that, ward driving is people who drive around to find a wireless network just so they can break into it. That's all they do. They go around with their computer and just try to break into your network to see if they can, or to gain useful information inside of your network. Ward chalking kind of goes hand in hand with ward driving. You find that network, you break into it, and then with maybe a piece of chalk or some sort of like pencil, pen, whatever, paintbrush, you put on the side of the building or wherever it is on the sidewalk how to get into that network. The name, the wireless key. If it's not secured, you just put the name and people can get into it pretty easily. Wireless network security is kind of getting into what people could do inside of your network. Rogue access points is someone who's on your network that puts an access point, an entry into your network that's unauthorized. So someone just puts a wireless router out there off of your network that shouldn't be there. People can get in easily. An evil twin is someone posing as a legitimate source and saying, hey, I'm the router that you're supposed to connect to. Like if you have a router named home with a security key, and then they put in a router that has home but no key, someone who comes into your home may try to connect to that, and their data could be taken. They could be uploaded with a virus, a Trojan, anything. Bluejacking is people getting onto your device through a Bluetooth link and sending messages as you, posing it as you. Blue snarfing is someone gaining access to your device through a Bluetooth connection and gaining information from you that you don't want displayed or you don't want out there for everyone to see. So in terms of Bluetooth, you want to make sure it's secured as much as possible. Now I've kind of talked to you a little bit about wireless networking and the benefits and the disadvantages. So the choice is yours, but if you're going to go with a wireless network, I suggest security, security, security. Thank you, and have a good night.